Howdy, 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 and welcome to another episode of the DirtInfo Podcast. So Julian, I heard you went racing this past weekend and there wasn't dirt.
No, there was no dirt at Five Flags, but there was a guy that has run dirt quite a bit this past year. I mean, not quite a bit, but Caden Honeycutt
Oh,
um,
yeah.
was there in four different divisions practicing, actually. A super late model, pro late model, modified, and a truck. And I think he set a quick time in the rotating practices they did for three of the four divisions, and they had money on the line for that too. So that was crazy. But yeah, what I went to was the Snowball Derby preview, which is just essentially rotating practice from I think 10 a.m. till 6 they did, and then they had a 40 lap Crown Stock Snowball Derby there, Crown Victorias. They had 55 show up for that.
Oh.
And that kind of ended in some controversy as the top two got disqualified. So that was
Do we
a
know
bit
why they
interesting.
got disqualified? I mean, was it at the show or was it post-show
It,
disqualification?
it was afterwards. I think it was something to do with tires. I
Okay.
heard. I'm not entirely sure. But it's kind of big because the first four finishers in that got qualifying spot in the Invitational Crown Vic race on Friday, the Snowball Derby coming up in 2 weeks. Um,
Okay.
but it was
Nah.
yeah. I drove 2 hours out there. It was just practice, but I mean, I got to pick up my Snowball Derby tickets. Got to see super late models on track, and I got to see the Snowball Derby trophy actually that was in the office when I picked up my ticket. So that was pretty cool to see that.
Oh, that's pretty awesome. Uh, I'm a sucker for trophies, so if they have them out, they must be proud of them. So I always go take a peek and snap a picture. But Carter, I actually have a question. So Julian went to practice. Does that count as going to a race?
No, not in my books. If they ran, well, so you didn't stay for the
I
crown
didn't stay.
stock thing. Yeah, so I wouldn't count it. If they ran one single heat race, I would count it. That's just how I always did it, though.
As long as there's like I didn't count it. It's not on my
Okay.
list. But
I
I
don't
mean,
count
if there's
qualifying either,
competitive,
though. I
no, if
have to
there's
see like
competitive, if there's
yeah,
like a race between at least two cars, it counts as a race.
yeah. Pretty much if they run a heat race, B main or feature, one of those three things, a dash, whatever the heck, it counts. But if it's qualifying, I wouldn't count it.
Usually, when I go to a race after the first heat race, like I'll mark it in like my thing that I had that I went to the race.
I'm debating the qualifying thing because that's a competitive lap, right? Like that's a competitive lap. It has a bearing on the show. So they're racing the clock, are they not?
Yeah, I don't know.
So
I just
that
don't count it. Everyone has their different rules for what they count as a race, I guess. I would not count it though. Just like how they count like tracks. Like people count tracks differently. Like some places, if it's a oval and a figure eight, that's two tracks. I count it as one. So
It's two different configurations, so it's two different tracks.
I guess I count
it's
kind of
the
by
same location. If you can watch it from the same
We're
seat,
counting
it's one track. I'm
we're
sorry.
counting tracks though, not locations.
see, I guess I always kind of count it as venues, I guess you could say that. That's kind of what I do
Yeah.
then.
Yeah.
I do it by track. I mean, unless if I not like a quarter mile and eighth mile drag strip, that doesn't count. I mean, it's the same piece of asphalt. But if you're using like different parts of it, that's a different track.
So if they run a quarter and an eighth mile drag race, you're not counting that as two. But if they
Yeah, that's
like
just
do it at one, they start at one end for one distance and start at a different end for a different distance, you're counting it.
no, because
No,
they do
Okay.
that
it's
though.
still on
I
the
mean, they
same
do like
track.
backside. We're getting so far out here,
I know
but
we're getting
like
in the weeds. I'm being a little bit of a shitter, just 'cause despite being a bit of an adventure chaser myself, I wouldn't call myself a track chaser. So, I generally go for the show. I know, you guys tend to be more of trying to get more tracks and more shows in a
Well,
year.
for
So,
you,
I
a
just
race would
stir in the
count.
pot.
For you, a race would count visiting the merch trailers and seeing fireworks. That would be,
I know Josh.
you could stand
Ah,
in merch row, and that'd be a race for you.
there's one I will grant you that on one condition. There is race cars on the property. That minimally they have to be on the property. And then those other two contingencies, that would work. Like if there aren't race cars on the property, then I'm not counting as a race. Then I just
So
went to a fair.
so if you
I
went
feel like you
to a
would
race
count it
and
though if you went to like Walmart and had Phantom fireworks in the parking lot. I feel like that'd be a race for you. There's merch there
Well, they'd have
inside.
to set them
Fire.
off, and I'm in Minnesota. We have ground fireworks,
if you went to a
so
race and they got rained out before cars ever touched the racetrack, would that count as a race because they were on the property?
and I was also on the property.
Yes.
I mean, I'm not trying to impress anyone with my numbers, so sure, I went to the races. Whether they raced or not is irrelevant to me. I was there.
See, I wouldn't even count that as a new track. I'd have to see racing to even count it
Yeah.
as a track. Because like I've been to like
Uh,
Fremont Speedway in Ohio and there was no racing, but I was there, but I don't count it as a track.
yeah, I mean, well, I went to Hamilton County and rolled up 20 minutes after they canceled it, and I don't particularly count that as being at a track. I mean, I showed up there, but I'm not like, oh yeah, I've been to Hamilton County. I've like saw the sign and
Yeah, I
stood in the
feel like
grandstands.
I feel like it's different for like ticking off a track and ticking off a race. Like a track, if you go and see like practice there or something, I feel like that counts as a track. Like if you see cars on track, that counts, but it doesn't count as a race.
I mean, you've at least seen how the track races, right? Even if
Yeah.
it's hot laps or something, like you've experienced the track. You may have not seen it race, but you've at least experienced it. I would agree with that.
Yeah, I don't
But
know.
we can,
Haven't
we
been in
can,
that situation.
I was like, we finally agreed on something, so we should probably move on
Like,
from that.
yeah, let's wrap. I mean, we'll find plenty of downtime to twist that knife. I'm sure. We, at least me, as opposed to you two, kind of see it racing a little bit differently, and I'm not shy about taking my lumps about that one. But um, we did have some racing this past weekend. We had mentioned it on the previous episode. We had the Reutimann Memorial. I just like Carter. I can't remember the first part, and I
It's
apologize for
Emil
that. But
and Dale. I'm fairly certain that's the first two names. First
there
part
we
of it.
go. My man nailed it. Um, so we had Strickler win the whole show. I believe we all watched it, so I don't want to talk about it all. But Carter, did you have any takeaways? Anything you thought worth mentioning?
They crashed a lot. They
That was a brutal feature.
the feature was what, an hour long, something like that.
Yeah, yeah.
And there
Really
was
wasn't the best, but
no.
There was one point where Ashton Winger, who I was kind of excited was there. I didn't realize he had placed second a couple years earlier, but there was one point they interviewed him towards the end of the race. I believe he may have caused another caution. But he's like, I've caused at least four of these myself, and I'm out of gas, so it's time to call it a night. And I was like, well said.
that's what caused that big the big pileup. If anybody saw it on the
Hmm.
backstretch there, he ran out of gas coming out of turn two, and this was after I think he like spun two or three times before this and kept going somehow.
Yeah, there
But
was
he
one where he
ran out of
spun on
gas.
a restart, like in
Yeah,
fifth, ate a car to
yeah,
the
and they had a
side,
big
kept it
pileup
going.
then.
And yeah, another big pile up. Yeah.
Yeah, and then actually Buzzy Rudiman, came in and piled into somebody. I can't remember who it
Yeah.
was, but it was good to see him get out of the car because he looked like
Yeah.
it took him a little bit, but he got out, and so that was good to see. Like a legend down there. The Rudiman family, Buzzy get out of the
Yeah.
car. So, and
Yeah.
it's crazy how many Rudimans are down there. You talk about like racing families. Um,
Yeah.
Buzzy's still racing. I don't think David really races anything anymore. Maybe once off, and then PJ Rudiman. He's been racing sprint cars down there in the south as well. So,
Right on.
but
Yeah.
overall for that race, it was a little bit of a mess. But big win for Kyle Strickler though. He's raced a bunch of different kind of modifieds this year, as you were saying, Josh.
Yeah. Yeah. So, much like I did last week when I see a winner for whatever reason, my brain wants to start analyzing stuff. So, I'm intimately familiar with Kyle Strickler. I actually probably have a door panel of his somewhere around here. Oh, yeah. Turns out I do. Give me 1 second. So, signed Kyle Strickler door panel. So I picked that up. Shout out to Kyle Strickler. This is an autographed one, and it was like half price of most of the other ones. That is a part of the reason I bought it. And I even told the guy in the merch trailer that was part of the reason I bought it. He's like, yeah, we like to be fair. So I think this is awesome. This will be going on the wall amongst all of the other stuff at some point in time. We've got some stuff to put up back there. But anyway, so Kyle Strickler, getting to the point eventually here. Um, So I decided to take a peek. It looks like he's raced 4 different sort of sanctions or 3 sanctions in one discipline of modifieds this year. Obviously the UMP car, he was in that this weekend. Was that in that I think for Dirt Car National as well, where he picked up a big win there. Um, and then he was also in an IMCA car. Carter, you're our IMCA guy, so I think I'll at least let you chime in here. But I think he raced out by you at 141,
And
picked
Beaver
up like a
Dam.
sixth and Beaver Dam. Yeah, so sixth and eighth at 141. Uh, Beaver Dam was a little bit better. Uh, that was a win and a second place there.
Yep.
Yep,
Yeah,
and then
so at Beaver Dam it was the 141 shows, it was the Clash at the Creek, which is like one of the bigger IMCA shows that 141's had. I don't know how many it's been going. It's well over 10 though. And he actually won that in the past. 2016, I think it was. He beat Benji Lacrosse by like 0.09 seconds. It was so close, like they were checking transponder locations. Um, but anyways, yeah, he what, sixth and eighth you said there at
yeah,
141.
sixth and eighth.
I think
Yep.
that he hasn't been there in a few years because obviously he's been doing more late model stuff. So it was cool to see him there. And then at Beaver Dam, I don't know if he's ever run there before. It wouldn't shock me if he did, but yeah, he won the first night, and then I don't remember where he started, but then the second night he ran second, and him and Benji Lacrosse, funny enough, they were throwing sliders on each other, and they were battling in traffic for a while, so that was fun to watch. But he was in. I remember seeing during the clash on practice night, I saw a picture of him in Johnny Whitman's car, who races locally by me, and I thought he was driving for him at the time, but I assume I'm thinking he bought the car because there was no mention from Whitman's side of like Strickler being in their other car. So I thought that was cool that he was running a guy's car who's ran by me his entire life. That was cool to see him
Yeah.
running a local car, I guess. But then he also went on to the Dakota Mod Tour after that, and then you have the results for that pulled up.
Yeah, yeah. Finished third in points overall, which I think's mildly impressive. Ethan Broxma won and Ward two on that, but a ninth and a ninth at Nodak, a 13 at Estevan, a win at Williston Basin for looks like 2K. Southwest pick up a sixth, and then Dakota a fourth. So, um, yeah, that's June into July. He's for a month he ran IMCA's, and I'd say IMCA mods. I'd say pretty well at that. Yeah, yeah. So and then it looks like, so kind of looking at his schedule. So that's June into July, and then back end of July, a couple more UMP races, and then kind of out of left field, he shows up in a USRA/USMTS modified, racing with USMTS at Lucas Oil Speedway. Picked up a ninth and a fourth, and then not a USMTS race, I don't believe, but also a USRA race at Mason City and finished third there. And then 2 days later shows up to the Harris Clash, finishes 14th. And then 2 days later shows up in Lakeside in a USMTS ride again and goes second and sixth. So
And he
uh,
was, I watched that race on Racing Dirt, and I think he had a real good shot to win at least one of those. I think that one where he finished second, I feel like I want to say Terry Phillips may have won that race. But I know he was hounding the leader at one point. And so, I mean, he was really quick all night. I think he maybe won his heat race or something like that too, but he was flying in that USMTS ride.
yeah. Yeah, and then like just kind of wrap up the schedule, I guess. Like we're going through, and and again, it's not like I mean, a modified's a modified to some respect, right? But it is in we don't see often, guys jumping across all these different sanctions. Um, but so he finished out Lakeside, went and did some late model stuff, and then all of a sudden at the back end of September shows up out in Washington at Skagit and goes 10th and fifth or 10th and second at Survive the 55. And then 2 weeks later, he's in New York racing a 358 modified for Super Dirt Week. Um,
Yeah, and I didn't really know this, but Carter said he had grown up at least some part drive in some Northeast style modifieds, but
I'm pretty
to
sure that's where
jump
he
in,
started in that. And then he put it simple. He started in that and then tried to do stuff in NASCAR and moved to North Carolina, and that didn't work out. And then that's when he started running more normal, I guess, our type of modifieds, Midwest kind of type of mods. But yeah, he
Mhm.
started out in Northeast stuff.
yeah, I think he
Right on.
ran within at least the past 10 years. I think he ran at Super Dirt Week, either in a big block or 358 once. But I mean, that's really tough to show up and run a 358 there at Super Dirt Week. I think they get around like 100 358
Yeah.
mods to show up. So
Yeah.
he
I mean,
did
to be
make the
fair, it
show, but
didn't go well. It did not go well. Looks like he
that's
timed in somewhere around 72nd and might have packed it up after there. But just to be out there and to roll the dice. Um, and then after that, I guess to lick his wounds, he decided he was just going to jump in a UMP modified and win a couple of big shows to round out the season. So, his last two shows in a mod after Super Dirt Week was Short Track World Championship for 4K and then the Reutimann Memorial for 10K. So, you know, definitely bouncing around between the sanctions and the modifieds. Feels like he's setting himself up to be ready for. We had mentioned it last year that some of these bigger shows are going to this more open rules or run your sanction. And I don't know, it's not the worst idea to be pretty solid in a couple of different sanctions. I mean, if nothing else, it leaves you open to go run the big money shows that are run by each sanction, and then it also leaves you wide open to pick a rules package that suits your needs at a given track when there's a big show as well. So I don't know, I think it's kind of neat.
Maybe during the off season you can talk to some of the Wasota people and get him a Wasota ride so we can hit all the major
That's
sanctions.
That is, yeah. I mean, you probably could hear it in my voice that I was a little sad that I didn't have any with soda results to get excited about, but yeah,
okay. Well, maybe he'll show up to
I
the
have
big
no
deal.
contacts, but I'll reach out to them. So,
We
I'm
also
sorry, what
had,
was that, Julian?
oh yeah, go
I was
ahead.
gonna say maybe he'll show up to the big deal in a Wasota car at Ogilvy.
Him and everyone else.
We also had another mod race down in Arizona, Central Arizona Speedway for, I forgot what it was called, the Showdown. Is that right?
Showdown, I believe so,
Yes.
yeah.
Um, and it
Yeah,
was, I think it was 1K on Friday, 1K Saturday, and then 3K on Sunday. And Chaz Baca won the first night, and then Hibden won the last two. I don't think any of us watched any of that, but they had some Midwestern guys that stayed from Vegas. Hibden, obviously, Cole Charneski, Sean Strand. Those are the three I can remember off the top of my head. I'm not sure who else was all down there, but they had 30 plus mods each night, which was pretty good given the time of year. Not much going on, so a few decided to stay down there and run for some extra money.
yeah.
Um,
I
Yeah.
mean, I did read the one comment from Friday from Colin Hibden. He said the track kind of latched a little bit, which I mean can happen in the desert. When you have wind and things like that. Just we saw that at Vado with the sprint cars a few weeks ago. It just happens. But I think Hibden blew a tire. He said, but he won two out of the three features. And Chaz Baca was actually the only driver, and he's the IMCA national champion in modifieds to finish on the podium in all three. Yeah, I mean they had 30, I think 31 mods, all three nights at least, or
30,
I think
33 on Saturday.
okay, yeah. Then it dropped to just two cars on Sunday, so that's pretty good for a 3 day show. But that's about what they had during their January early thaw show that they ran down there. They had about 34 to 36, so it's not too far off, and that's pretty good. You got a bunch of good drivers. Jeff Taylor was there. Some more of the West Coast guys. Austin Cool, who's been, up in more of the Midwest, but he's down there in Arizona as well. And speaking of the Cools, Taylor Cool won two of the three sport mod features down there as well.
Right on. And I could be speaking out of left field here, but I'm pretty sure Joey Price is a Wasota driver out of Montana. So there might have even been one of those. I think he had picked up a top five on Sunday.
I
Um,
think I think
and
Tate Johnson.
and a podium on Friday. So
Yeah, I saw that. That was there were some good drives there. I think Matt Crafton was also there.
Oh, yeah.
He's another guy that kind of bounces. Ex NASCAR guy that's been shows up everywhere in a modified. So that's kind of cool too.
yeah, what's
I th
I
I
Wasn't he
think
working with
he
Taylor Cool
I
on
think
like
he
a
helps Taylor
crate mod
Cool.
or something?
Yeah, because she runs for him. I don't know what that series is called, but it's out in the Carolinas. It's like the 602, some 602 mod series, and she runs out there. But I know he helps her out because during the sport mod special at 141, he showed up there just for on like he brought his own car, but he was there down there to help her too, and he ran his mod just on one of the nights. And I don't think he went all the way up to 141 to run for $1,000 on a Tuesday. So I'm assuming he was there to help her out. So, but
I
yeah,
know.
she runs for him in some 602 series mod series in the Carolinas.
He was actually in a stock car in Central Arizona as well. I'm not sure who that was owned by. It's listed as a 46X, so I'm not sure who owns that, but he was also there. And then Chaz Baca and Cool Sarneski, obviously, they both ran stock cars. So a lot of guys running a bunch of divisions, which is very IMCA. Guys running like in I guess IMCA and Wasota, looking at like Shane Sabraski and things like that, running about
Yeah,
5 different divisions every weekend.
that's for sure. But so yeah, so that mean kind of a we didn't it totally missed our purview last episode. So worth chatting about a little bit. Looks like they have another show this upcoming weekend. I don't know, maybe same car count. I don't know. We'll not to downplay it, but we'll just kind of hang tight and see what happens. Maybe some of the Midwest guys went home and we'll at least highlight the results next week, but I don't think any of us feel comfortable pretending like we know what the heck's gonna happen. So we'll leave her there. Um, but yeah, I think so. That was the results from this past weekend. Were you
Um,
saying something, Julian? I'm sorry.
oh no.
I don't know. All right. Well, let's be all awkward. And now, pew, 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 off to the dome draft by Dirt Info. No, I think that's what's next, Carter. Do you want to run us before we get too deep in the weeds? Do you want us to run through like generally the scoring
Yeah.
and how many drivers we're going to pick and from where, and then be sure to give me the credit for all of that work that you did.
Yeah, so we're picking six drivers, and I don't know if we ever decided if we're doing three from each night or if we're just doing six from whatever night you want to do. Do we ever decide that?
We did not. So let's decide it right now. Julian, um, would you like to do 3 and 3 or open field pick six from any night?
Prefer 3 and 3, I think.
I
All
also
right, that's what
prefer
we're gonna
that.
do. Because
So,
yeah, we know the other two votes. Let's settle the tie and keep her moving.
and
So we'll
then
do three and
the scoring. So it'll be for if you guy so you guy if your guy makes the feature on the prelim nights, you get 30 for first, 29 for second, and then all the way down to 18, which is how many cars they start in the feature. And if you guy takes 18th, they'll get 13 points. And then if your guy misses the feature, it's just 8 points. And then for Saturday, first gets 50, second 48, all the way down to 20, 20th place, and 20th will get 12 points. And then if he misses the feature, he gets 8. So fairly simple, fairly simple scoring. And
yeah,
then
a little bit main feature weighted, so you can kind of catch up if your guy doesn't do awesome on his prelim
exactly.
night. So.
And then do we have an order? Who's picking first? And are we doing snake? I guess we never decided that either. Came real prepared
Ooh.
for
We
this.
can just add a lot of things.
Uh, it occurred to me right now, but we do have like a video aid that we'll be using, and it's kind of predetermined as it is. So, what if we just went? We'll start round one. Carter, you can go first. We'll pick Thursday. Um, and then the second round we'll start. I'll go first, and then we'll kind of snake it back through. It'll make more sense when the visual's up. And then third round, Julian will go first, Carter second, me last. That way we're basically, and then we do 2 sets of that. I'll keep track in my head who starts each round. But that kind of gives us all advantageous positions throughout the whole thing.
Do
So
we have an order in which
uh,
are we doing like first three rounds are Thursday and then 4, 5, and 6 are Friday, or just pick whatever order as long as you end up with three from each night?
I would say let's do Thursday, Friday, Thursday, Friday,
Okay.
Thursday, Friday to try to weight the talent across each team as much as we can. I shouldn't say talent. They're all incredibly talented, but some guys just happen to be a little faster than others. All right, all right. So Carter, that means you get first pick in Thursday's portion of this slightly confusing draft.
Um, I could pick Ricky Thornton Jr., but I feel like that's like the boring pick. I mean, granted, the guy I'm gonna pick isn't. I mean, he's kind of boring too, I guess. But I'll take Mike Harrison.
Mike Harrison.
I feel
All
like Mike
right.
Pearson isn't boring though.
I mean, not watching wise, but just like as like who's gonna win, you know, as that kind of boring. That's like picking Bobby Pierce to win a World of All-Out race. It's like it's a boring pick.
Yeah, you're not going much out on a limb there. I hear that,
But I
but
feel like Harrison's just gonna full send it and might
I
knock
mean, the,
off
the
a,
the
a,
reason I
a
picked him
spoiler.
is well, he's won the Dome before, and he just runs those type of tracks. I mean, small, sometimes rough, usually a cushion. So,
yeah,
and he runs
Carter and I
modifieds
actually
quite often.
talked about this on my drive home from Five Flags on Saturday about how Harrison, he runs at Highland Speedway and things like that, and some of these guys just have an advantage like that. So
yeah, and I think it was from last year. Watching Thrills and Spills. Well, like full on disclosure, this is my absolute favorite event of the year. Like, it's it's part WWE, part racing, and you guys know me and my pomp and circumstance and fanfare, and this is just everything. So this is like my absolute favorite. But Mike Harrison kind of had a quote like, "I'm gonna keep coming here until they have to wheel me in, and then when they do, I'll have my wife or one of my kids bring me in. But I'm like gonna keep coming back." And like I just feel like a guy like that is gonna just lay it out there pretty much every time he's there. He wants to win this thing. He just wants to win it. He wants to be there. He wants to do well. So I dig the pick. So, but I appreciate you for being boring, and I don't need to say a whole lot of anything. I'm gonna pick up where I thought you were gonna start. So we're just gonna go ahead and take Ricky Thornton Jr. And he was the winner when I was there in 2022, and so I feel like I should bank on him to also do really well now that I'm drafting a roster. So I'm gonna rock with Ricky Thornton Jr.
and I mean, you guys left me with this pick, but I'll just go with Drake Troutman, the winner from last year. I mean, I feel like these are all kind of like 1A, 1B, 1C picks, so it's not.
Absolutely.
I don't really have anything else to say other than he won, so I'll take him.
And that it's
For
Julian's pick
sure.
again, correct? We're doing a snake draft.
Uh, actually, yeah, let's do that way.
Oh,
I had a slightly different idea and I said something goofy before, but I feel like Julian kind of gets gypped if we don't do it that way. So,
it'd be
looking
goofy. I
at it
didn't know
now,
what we were doing.
I know what we're doing. You're drafting first overall pick for Friday right now. Round one of Friday starts with you, my good friend Julian.
So this is a little bit. I think Friday has some more like underrated guys that could still pull off a big win. Let's see. I think I'm gonna go with a guy that's been consistently good at the Dome. Has one prelim win. I'm gonna go with Jordan Grabowski.
Last year's prelim winner on whatever day he was on. I called that, by
Yeah,
the way. I don't know if you guys forgot that. I tweeted saying IMCA is going to take over the dome, and then he won that night. So
that, but we'll go with it.
it's true.
I
It's a
can
true thing.
I can appreciate you taking every opportunity to take pride in IMCA. So I'm here for it. And I actually kind of like that pick a lot. But so that leaves me with a couple guys. And as much as I want, you guys probably both are thinking, oh, he's going to say TPO. I'm actually not going to. I'm going to take the USMTS national champion and one of the cool guys that I think is out there in racing, Jimmy Chimmy. So a Jim Chisholm is going to go ahead and be my pick for round two. Um, yeah, I mean, not much to say, right? Won the 50K race. Um, took second in the big deal. Won the USMTS. First time at the Dome though, and I'm always nervous because this stuff's hard on equipment and some guys do go for the experience and don't want to tear their stuff up. But I've seen Jim race a few times, and I feel like he's got some sharp elbows, and I think this might be right up his alley. So I'm pumped for it.
Yeah, it'd be
Um,
definitely interesting to see how he runs. I mean, the Dome is such a unique race that you have some guys that are really really good outside of the Dome, and it doesn't quite show there. So, but I don't know. I think Jim's a little bit interesting. He's a young guy, so I think he'll be willing to send it.
Yeah, and
uh,
he's never really made any bones about trying to dig as low as the track can go and forcing his way in there. And having watched a few dome races, I feel like it's a fairly good ticket to victory there. You know, it's rough and tumble everywhere, but at some point the top gets a little long and the short gets a little short, and the bottom gets
Both
a little
Chisholm
short. And
brothers next year at the Dome. I'm calling it.
oh, that'd be kind of neat. I don't know. Joe may or may not take a run at USMTS this year too. We'll see. But
I'll go.
Carter,
I'll go with Tyler Peterson. I mean, he won it what a couple 2 3 years ago, I think. And he went I can't do math. I don't know. He passed 12 cars and finished eighth. Does that put him 16th? No, something like that. I can't do
20th. I
math.
think he might
There
have
you
been
go. Dead
provisional.
last. He started dead last and,
Yeah.
and finished
Yep,
eighth.
dead last. Yep, I
Can't do
think he
math at
had
all.
the most recent winner non-qualifier provisional deal that they have there with that. So yeah, I think he went last to eighth. So yeah, I like it. Even if he struggles again, he's got a provisional in his pocket, and then yeah,
Exactly.
he
I'm
can go
I'm
ahead
I'm
and
guaranteed at least not non-qualifier points. I'm guaranteed at least some feature points. So
yeah, that's that's true. Smart man.
I almost took
Playing
him
the
too,
system.
and I mean he's now the four-time WISSOTA national champion, and twice in modifieds and twice in late models now. So
Yeah,
he went back to back in mods and then went back to back in late models. So
yeah.
he hasn't run the mod as much this year since he's kind of switched over to late models, but I think he's
No,
still
but
decent.
yeah, probably bring the mod out here for fun and let her eat. So should be pretty fun. All right, so we've done one round of each, and my brain says I should probably go first
yeah,
for
that works.
yep, for when back to Thursday now. So we're
Who goes
back to
second?
Thursday. Julian would go second.
Okay,
I
I get to go.
think I
I get to.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. Yep. It's making sense.
it makes
Um
sense.
it does make a teeny bit of sense. Um but so I'm up first. And I think I am going to take a guy who's driving style. I thought Chisholm's fit well here. I think the Tyler Wolves fits really well here. Um, if he's not bringing merch, he might want to have the merch that says, "I didn't come here to make friends. I brought my own." Um, because I think he's gonna be worth watching. I think that at minimum, I don't want to give any impression that the gentleman's not a clean driver. I think he's just a very aggressive driver, and he's very hard on equipment. And I think those drivers can have success here at the Dome, especially if they qualify well, right? If they're up towards the front, and I mean they're just beating and banging for the lead. Uh, I don't think he'll be shy. So, uh,
If the epitome of a checkers or wreckers type of driver for
yeah,
sure, which is kind of what you need to be at the Dome. You need to be. I mean, he has the speed. Obviously, you can win USMTS races. He has two championships this year,
yeah,
USR National Championship, and he won the USRA Heartland Tour Championship. So he has speed, but I mean, he's willing to also knock the fence down, which is quite normal at the Dome, and rip the
yeah.
spoiler off. So if you're looking for somebody that's really going to be a show that hasn't been to the Dome yet, it's going to be Tyler Wolf.
Yeah. And I'm partial to I'm partial to most guys who qualify. I know you said checkers and wreckers. I prefer the phrase if you can't win the show, be the show. But yeah, so those are my kind of drivers. I tend to gravitate towards them. For good or bad. I don't know. I dig it. But Julian, it is now your turn.
It's kind of funny. I feel like I'm a little bit more of a USRA homer out of out of us here, but I'm gonna go with another UMP pick from Illinois. We're gonna go with Mike McKinney, and I don't know why you're making that face,
No,
but
no,
I
I was
feel
happy. You didn't take my guy.
Oh, I
That
felt
was
like that was gonna be.
jubilation.
I felt like that was gonna be someone's guy, to be honest. So, yeah, I don't know. Mike McKinney, I feel like he's one of the best UMP drivers out there. So, I don't really. I mean, I think he could easily win the race. Win it pre. I'm. It's a stacked prelim night on Thursday. I mean, I think McKinney could probably pull it off, though. I feel like he's up there. I don't know.
Yeah,
Mike McKinney's been in my head for this race for like weeks now, so I'm just riding the train.
I can feel I'm down with that. He's been there a bunch. I'm sorry, I was trying to I knew I had it written down somewhere, but he's been there an absolute bunch. Um, took second in 18, 14th and 19, ninth in 21, second and then 20th. So Julian, he's gonna make the show, it would appear. So I think that's a good pick.
Consistency.
Yeah.
That's I don't know. That's what I went with Grabowski as well. So Grabowski's been really really consistent there, as far as I remember. Maybe he wasn't, but
Yeah, no, he showed out. Grabowski's plays pretty well. I think he was on a podium last year in addition to a prelim night. And yeah, my work computer's going bonkers, gentlemen. So I apologize for that. But Carter, you are the next man on the list.
I'll go with Michael Long, who was the Mars Modified champion. I believe he was the UMP Modified national champion, and he also has 28 wins on the year. So, I mean, if anyone knows those Illinois type of bull rings, kind of like the Dome is, I mean, it's him. And he ran 50 features this year and only finished outside the top five times. So he had one of his. I'm guessing this is probably his best ever year, if I had to guess, just looking at some of his past results. So
so what you're saying is I should stick to USRA and not pay attention to UMP because I took the wrong guy.
yeah, I guess so.
Yeah, I think that's what's Carter's saying, but um no, Mike McKinney, I think his rap's pretty neat. So maybe that's what it was. You saw the rap and you got a shiny thing and I get it. So um but so keeping with the theme here, so I think the way that this should now play out is I should again pick first for Friday. And the way that this will balance out is then Julian will pick first for one round and Carter will pick first for one round. And I think we've all would have picked first, second, and third in each round. Does that make sense? For each draft. You guys just keep looking at me like I'm right and we'll keep rolling with it, all right?
I should be second this round, though, right?
Yes, we should go the
Okay.
other direction. Correct. Yep. Um, so I will first try to find my list and then we'll go to Friday. Um, yeah, I think I'm gonna go ahead and actually I am gonna do a little bit of an under the radar pick here, I think, and I'm gonna go with Joey Thomas. So he's a Wissota driver out by out way western Minnesota, possibly even North Dakota, South Dakota. I can't recall where he's exactly at now, but I think it was at one point in time Glendon, Minnesota. Um, been to the Dome before. You may recall he actually had an incident with Mike Harrison in 2022 in a heat race and battled his way back into the feature, if I recall. So I'm a big fan of Joey Thomas. I've seen him race around here a fair amount and always towards the front. And I think he's pretty close with TPO. So the two of them, maybe as a team, can put them in the show and have a little fun. So I'm gonna go with Joey Thomas.
I don't have a lot to add about Joseph Thomas, but if you go on my race pass, his profile pic is actually him racing at the Dome. So comfortable there.
He also finished sixth last year and passed 8 cars. So,
Where,
um,
where did he start then? If he passed 8 cars and finished sixth,
14th.
Carter, real
I will.
quick. We are Wissota.
Oh, yes. I don't know who I'm gonna pick. See, I'm looking at guys and I'm thinking, will they destroy their car to like win, or will they just like run like 12th and be happy with it. That's where I'm sitting at right now.
That's the way to
Um,
go.
I'll
And
go with, go
just
ahead.
so we know, are you trying to get the guys that are going to wreck their car, or are you trying to get the guys that are comfortable running 12th? What's your
I'm trying to
strategy
get the
here?
guy that is willing to wreck their car to win the race.
Okay.
So like they may wreck,
So,
but like if they're gonna wreck, at least doing it trying to win and get me points.
okay.
And don't
Okay.
wreck running 19th and get
Like
me
Tyler Wolf.
absolutely. I'll go with Jeff Larson. He's in a Timmy Current car. I've seen I think he's been to the Dome a good amount, I'm fairly certain. And I feel like he's a guy that
Hmm.
would be willing to wreck a car to win the race. So
I think you're right. Give me 1 second. I actually do think he has had he was fourth in 2021.
there we
Just
go.
as yeah, so I know he's an IMCA guy, runs IMCA mods and stocks primarily, so I know you're homering it, even if you're trying to put it under the guise of he'll wreck for OW, but um yeah, he fourth in 2021, so definitely has some success there as well.
I believe I'm up here.
Yes, sir.
I don't have anything to add to Jeff Larson, really. I apologize for that, but I think I don't know. It's getting a little. There's some guys here I want to pick, but like you said, I don't know if they're willing to like destroy their race car to actually go out there and win the race. I'm gonna go with a guy that is known to put his elbows out there and stir up a little bit of controversy online. Um, Former USMTS driver. Um, we're gonna go with listed as Thomas Berry, but I think you usually know him as Tom Berry Jr. Uh, so I mean, I think there's a guy right there that is willing to really put his elbows out and is kind of built for the dome, and is not going to be afraid to get in there and probably talk crap on social media afterwards too. Um, Nothing against Tom Berry, but just kind of a hard nosed driver, kind of like Tyler Wolf style. Ruffled a few feathers on the USMTS tour when he ran that. So yeah, Tom Berry
Yeah,
Jr.
no, I agree with all of I have a Tom Berry Jr. and a Dylan Thornton and a Mike McKinney and one other driver from the Dome when I was down there. I picked up the
Probably
Timmy
Jeff
Current
Larson.
shirt and probably. And so uh, interestingly enough, I don't drink and I still willingly bought a shirt that said bad decisions fueled by alcohol or something like that. So because Tom Berry, that was the year that Tom Berry, I think, went into the Super Nationals as like the overwhelming favorite and then still managed to win it. So like, I don't know. There's a theme to me, but like I like guys who take on pressure and deliver under the moment, you know? I don't know. Big time players and big time games or however you want to say it. So I like the TBJ pick. Um, so we are now on to the fifth round of the draft, the third and final round of Thursday
Thursday.
prelims. And I believe the order is going to go Julian into Carter into me drafting last.
This is gonna be.
So
I should have prepared a little bit looking at this. I have a few picks here, and I'm kind of going between them here. Let's see what I can do.
well, since we can't steal your pick, do you want to tell us who you're waffling between and we can weigh in?
I don't know about that. You might steal my pick.
You're the first.
Oh
You'll
wait,
pick the wrong guy. Is that what it is? No.
yeah. I, I don't know. Let's see. We're gonna go with somebody who has had notorious troubles this year for his car not staying together very often. But when he's fast, he's fast. And if some pieces. Wait, what?
I'm just guessing. You just say your guy. Don't worry about it. I'll change it if I'm wrong.
Wait, why are we? Are we not picking for Thursday?
Oh, we are. I looked at the wrong list. I'm sorry. I'm just having fun over here. Don't worry. You keep up with the show and let
I
me
feel
look
like
like the
Tanner
fool.
Mullins' car has stayed together this year. He just hasn't been like
Oh,
remarkably quick.
Except
jeez.
for when he rolled that Mississippi Thunder. Didn't he roll there?
Yeah, yeah, he rolled there, and then I think he turned around and wrecked another car right after it. So,
Okay,
um,
but who
no
I'm going
worries.
with Jake O'Neill. Uh, this is it's a little bit of a risky pick here, but Jake O'Neill came within a corner of winning the 50 grand at the Jim Chisholm one down at Heart of Texas.
Mm-hmm.
If
Last
certain
lap
parts
pass.
fall off of his car, he'll be fine at the dome. As long as like an engine stays together, wheels stay on the car, that kind of thing. Um, but I think Jake is. I wouldn't say he's really like a rough driver at all or anything like that, but I think he's a hard
Mhm.
driver, and I think he's as quick as anybody at the dome. And I mean, he could easily win.
Yeah, and if the top side's there, right, Jake's will be one of the first to put a right rear up there and and see how high they can push the dirt up the fence. So, um, I can think of a lot of races where I've seen him come hauling around up top, hey, hey, buddy, top's up here. So, I like that pick. I think it might be his first appearance there. I'm not entirely sure about that, but um, I do think he could have a lot of success. Like
It's
you said, he won
very
the.
it's very boomer bust,
Mhm.
but nothing really talent wise that would make it a bust. It's just a car failure thing this year.
Yeah. So, so I think based on my logic, Carter, you would then be pick number two, and I thought it was Friday. It turns out it's Thursday, so we're picking for Thursday.
Yes, I was aware that it was Thursday. I think you were the only one out of the loop on that one.
That happens.
I'm gonna go with Michael Ledford, who ran second there in 2021. So he
I
passed a lot of
like
cars
that.
doing it too. He passed 9 cars, and he's also a guy that just another guy that runs Illinois, knows those small tracks, and if there's a top two, he's a guy to watch. Whenever I go to Fairbury, if Mike Harrison ain't there, you're watching Michael Ledford usually run the top. So
Yeah. 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 Do I have this right or do I have this wrong? Doesn't he also run some super late models now as well? Has any
um,
dipped a toe in
his
there, or do I have a different
brother,
Ledford?
his Jeffrey Ledford, who I think's his brother. I know they're
There we
related.
go.
He runs late
Yeah.
models. Michael may have in the past, but he didn't do any late model stuff this year.
Yep. I think I've got the brothers confused. So that's my bad. But so I'm up now and I've got the last pick of the day. So I pretty much can take my pick of the litter from here. And I do have a couple guys indicated, and I'm actually a tiny bit shocked that no one's taken him yet. Um, so I'm gonna go with Jake Tim. Uh
That's who I was waffling between.
well, I mean, it was a Jake or a Jake. You couldn't go wrong. You just take a Jake and you'll nail it. Yeah. No, I think Jake finished second in USMTS national points to Jim Chisholm. Third in the big deal. I don't know that he was at Mod Wars. Actually, I've had an occasion to look at his stats, and I felt like they were actually a teensy bit down from what I thought I saw.
I think
Like
he
what?
had the Jake bug there where he had some parts failures. I know.
Yeah, yeah. It was like he was always at the front, but he didn't necessarily always finish at the front. Um, and so I was actually a little taken aback. I thought he had more wins on the season. This is not a knock on anything, just kind of speed versus results type thing. Um, but I do genuinely think, again, another guy who, if the top is there, we'll know where he'll find it. Or we'll know he'll be the one that finds it. I said that a little goofy, but he'll be the first up there. And so, yeah, I dig it. And a little bit of a homer pick too, right? He's out of Minnesota. While I am a self-professed with soda homer. USRA is a short John away, and I go there a lot, so I've seen him race a ton too. So, a little bit of a heartstrings pick as well. So that wraps up uh, Thursday prelim night, and we are moving into Friday prelim night, and I believe it is Carter. 2 Julian, 2 myself then.
Yes, I will go, which actually I didn't realize that he was on Friday, or else I probably would have picked him with my second pick for Friday. But I'll go with Kyle Steffens. He ran fourth the last 2 years on Saturday, and then in his prelim last year he took fifth, but he's in the top five the last 2 years. So I'm kind of going with a theme, besides a couple guys, where I'm just going with guys that run around Illinois a lot outside of EPO
Yeah,
and Jeff Larson. Actually, Jeff Larson's from Illinois, so I mean,
he is.
he doesn't run the Fairbury and stuff, but he's from Illinois, so. But yeah, I'm going with guys that run small tracks. So
I like it. I like it. They do have a bit of a built-in advantage. I mean, I don't know that any track is quite like the Dome, but the if you have a lot of experience on bull rings, I think that this is probably an easier transition than a guy who runs half miles all the time. So
What's kind of amazing because he's been running a lot of big tracks with the USAC Silver Crown, so
yeah.
he's kind of like polar opposites in what he races. But
Yeah, well, I mean, he jumped in a modified last weekend and went over to Springfield and picked up a second. So maybe all that the Silver Crown driving is helping him out. Although I don't think Springfield's uh, a bull ring, but I could be talking out on my left foot right now.
it's a
So
smaller track.
uh,
I mean, it's not dome small, but
eh,
it's not a half mile or anything like that.
yeah, for some reason I had 3/8, and then I like questioned it as I was stumbling through it. So
Quarter
uh,
mile, quarter than my race
quarter
pass, by
mile.
the way.
Yeah. So turns out I was talking out on my left foot. Um, but Julian, I believe it is your pick for Friday.
it's another I'm kind of waffling here. I don't know. A couple USMTS guys still on the board.
About
Some
Dylan
UMP
Fonten,
guys.
spelled wrong, by the way, his name.
Oh, Dylan Thornton. Yeah, he's kind of like half IMCA, like half UMP, but also late model
Not
guy.
he doesn't run much
He's
UMP. He's more late model and IMCA at this point.
I mean, the
That's what
last time
I
he
mean.
ran
IMCA
full
is
time in a
USMTS.
modified was USMTS. So
Did win Boone Super Nationals though.
Why do
he
you count his
did.
full
Yeah.
time? I feel like was he in USMTS last year?
Yeah.
I don't think he ran the full. He flipped his car
He
actually,
fell off towards the back end of it, yeah, but he had been on tour up until the bitter end.
but that is not my pick. I'm gonna go with somebody, another Illinois guy that's kind of fallen under the radar here is Trevor Neville. Uh, he ran well down at Volusia. He might have. I
Second.
can't
He
remember
took
the
second
results.
at
I was
Volusia.
gonna
Second,
say
yeah.
I think he ran second. I think he won his the shootout
Showdown
prelim
feature. Yeah.
feature. Yeah, and yeah.
Mhm.
So I was a little surprised he was still on the board there, but I was kind of waffling between a few other guys. But we'll go Trevor Neville. We got two. I got two Illinois guys. It looks like Josh is the only one without a Illinois driver.
And we're gonna keep it that way because I am going to take my second Thornton of the proceedings, and I'll take Dylan Thornton as my last pick. Maybe playing a little bit with I'm just spelling it the way it's spelt on the sheet. Maybe playing with fire a little bit, taking my last two picks, managed to wipe each other out last year, but on different days. So maybe they can hold it till they're battling for the lead. But um, no, actually, Dylan Thornton's a pretty cool dude. I ran into him at Mod Wars a couple years ago in the pits and had a good conversation. He's actually one of, I think, maybe like three drivers that actually has a Dirt Info hat. Dylan Thornton does indeed have one. Um, he tried to trade me, and I told him absolutely not. Like my janky hat's not worth. Um, but he also didn't have any big boy sizes. They didn't have your size either, Julian. I tried to buy a shirt from him. He didn't have any sizes. for us. I was trying to give the man money, and so I eventually just went and handed him a 20 bucks, 20 bucks cash, and said, "I know I would like to buy something for me, but it's not happening. So you just take this, and hopefully it helps you get up and down the road a little bit." So, um, it, Dylan Thornton's a cool dude, and he talked to me probably for a better part of a half an hour across that day. So, uh, I like him. I thought it was pretty neat that when he was running USMTS, he was really going up and down the road by himself. He was in a Harris Auto car, so he pitted near and probably had some help from Kyle Brown and other Harris cars on tour. But it was him, a pickup in a trailer going up and down. And, um, I'd actually at Ogilvy, I'd gone and talked to him after the B, and I was like, "Man, I thought you were going to get a chance to get up there." And he's like, "Yeah, but like it's just me." And the way it shook out, I had an early B, and I didn't even have a chance to, scuff up the tires before I could go back out. So like, the guy was out there on tour battling by himself night in, night out. I think that's pretty neat. And you can see how that I think is really, I don't know, been critical in his development a little bit because he stepped into the late model car. Oh, is that the Kai's? Is that the Kai's car? Whose car is
Yep,
he in?
that's right.
Yep. Yep. And so like with a little bit of support and he can be more of a driver and a less of an everything. I mean, the results have been kind of crazy. So I went on a rant. I wanted to tell a story. Um, but yeah, Dylan Thornton's the last pick of the draft,
So
and I think he's a cool dude.
we have our next guest on the show. Then I mean, we have Brock Zierfoss coming on, and you're also
Yeah.
best friend Dylan Thornton. So he
Hmm.
can come on with his Dirt Info hat on the Dirt Info podcast. So we have
Do
two
you
guests
think he
lined up.
still has it? What are the chances? Yeah, this was 2 summers ago, so not 24, 23 summer. What are the chances he still?
26%.
Oh, that's high. That's high. And I'm not even offended. I think it's somewhere below 10%, but like, yeah, I'm not even a little bit offended by it. I was a tiny bit shocked he took it. So,
If he wins the
funny.
dome, and then all of a sudden he just has the hat in his car and he puts that one on.
Yeah, what if
Oh,
he wins
well,
the race and he puts that on in victory?
I mean, if someone can get this to him and he remembers the story and he can, I mean, finding the hat's be the hardest part of that equation. Like him winning is more likely than him finding the hat.
I mean, he
Anyway,
runs mostly late models now, so maybe it's just like in
That's
his
not
car
true.
and
He
then he
runs
forgot
more
about it.
mod races than late model races.
I think he's buying a late model. Doesn't he have a late model?
Now, I'm talking this past
Oh,
year. Next year that could change, but
yeah, next year he might be tour driving for all I know. He had a pretty solid year in a late model this year. I don't have the stats or anything, but
I think maybe speculation
Facebook post
was maybe
regulation.
like some MLRA stuff, but once again, for the second show in a row, rest in peace, MLRA.
he has 6 late model
Yeah,
wins, by the way.
yeah, that's pretty good for his first real year. I mean, I think he drove a teeny bit at the back end of last year, and then um has been in it mostly this year. So that's pretty solid. Some on the SLMR, I think. Maybe some wins or maybe some decent finishes. I don't know. Everything blurs together. Um, but yeah, he's done well is the takeaway. But I think with that concludes. Woo! Does that make Dylan Thornton Mr. Irrelevant, technically speaking, because he was the last pick of the mod draft? Is that
That's
how
how it
that works?
works. That's how the
Oh
NFL draft
no.
works. So,
Sorry, Dylan. But
is is
anyway,
is there anyone else we want to talk about that you were considering that unfortunately just didn't make the cut in your
Rodney
draft?
Sanders.
Tim
I
Ward
would.
was one for me.
Mhm.
I just didn't think he would destroy his car enough. That was my only reason for not picking him. He may, I
Evan
mean,
Mullins was one on there too. I think kind of interesting.
Yeah,
Kenny Wallace can make some magic happen. I think hometown.
yeah.
Uh, yeah, I think they're. I mean, Charlie Manford definitely
Volkanovski,
be the show.
yeah, Charlie Medford for sure. Um, No, so like a lot of my guys actually were shocker with soda guys that I thought might be worth a play, but like Brandon Kopp was leading the LCQ last year and stepped on a banana peel and put it in the fence with 1 lap to go. He's pretty fast around me. I thought that might be a fun pick. Cole Chernosky, the Wasota, the national champ. And then Zach Johnson, who incidentally enough, I'm actually wearing his shirt underneath here. So,
Well, he's definitely not coming on the show.
so you'll never believe this. I've actually had a good chat with him. Not only did I have a good chat with him at the big deal, he thought he knew me. So I was I corrected him, but I said we can pretend that
He
we're
knew
old
you. You're
friends.
wearing his shirt, and you didn't pick him for your team.
I
I have one that I'm
didn't.
surprised that didn't get picked. Another Illinois guy, Ray Bollinger,
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
That
former winner at the Dome. Ray Bollinger.
yeah. I feel like the last couple of years, he's a hard card to miss, right? It's that bright orange or not orange, bright yellow. I think it's 7 or 77. He's a hard guy to miss. He's had, had some trouble the last couple of years. So, um, if my memory serves right, I my recall seems to be a little crappy today, but but I think he's had some trouble. But yeah, that is a surprising one. Kenny Wallace, really, I think it was the one I was most surprised in. I mean, he's just been really good. He runs a mod fairly regularly. He's just really good in it, and he's from St. Louis, so a little bit of a a little bit of an extra oomph to want to kind of put
Hometown
on a
game
show for.
kind of thing.
Yeah, yeah.
Probably sleeps in his own bed overnight and goes back to track.
there's a
Right? Yeah,
guy
that helps. You take the car back to the shop, doesn't have to worry. You know.
there's a guy who I think if he was on Friday, probably would have been taken, at least by me, Austin Becerra. That's another one. But he was just
Yeah.
on Thursday, unfortunately, which I think is clearly the more loaded night. I mean, both nights have loaded fields. If this showed up to your local track, you wouldn't be disappointed. But I
Yeah.
think
Yeah.
Thursday is just more bigger names, more
Tyler
talented.
Davis.
Yeah, there's a
Yeah.
bunch.
I'm not sure
Yeah.
if Tyler Davis is willing to flip his car over the finish line to win.
Yeah.
But multi-time USRA national champion Tyler Davis.
Yeah. Well, Alex Williamson was one that I definitely think falls in the willing to do what it takes category. Um,
But will
I
his
remember
car do what it takes? Because there's another
uh
guy that has had a lot of Jake O'Neill and Jake Tim problems.
yeah, that's true. I mean, I remember early in the USMTS season, I just felt like that guy was always going forward. And the problem was that he sometimes had more than enough reasons to go forward. Every now and again, you'd rather not be the reason you have to do that. But
Well, he was
um,
very, very quick. It just, I feel like something always happened. Like he ended up in some pileup or something went wrong. But quick shout out to Alex Williamson. He has his own shop online now, so you can buy Alex Williamson merch and maybe an Alex Williamson door, which is hiding behind Josh. And
I didn't actually intend that. I didn't. I
he
didn't.
didn't
That's
pick him either. So Alex Williamson's also not coming on the show.
I would have taken him if he was there. 100%. 50 to the third. I would have taken Brandon Davis. Full show.
No, I don't think
Uh,
anybody passes more cars on like a weekly basis than uh, Brandon Davis.
no. No, I don't think so.
That
I
guy's constantly
mean,
charging for like 20th, just like
yeah.
first.
We're getting super sideways, but I'll leave
Yeah,
it with this. Like he's the one guy where like USMTS shows up to a track and it's like, oh shit, that's right. This is Brandon Davis's track. Like there are tough locals everywhere, but it just puts I mean, when they come to his turf, he plants his flag. So
he was my pick to win the big deal, and I think he's going to
yeah.
be one of the favorites to win. I mean, if he goes to Ogilvy, I think he'll be a favorite there, and I think he's going to be a favorite for the $100,000 race at MTS as well. So,
Hmm.
and I
Absolutely.
We
But
should remind everyone too, next week we'll be doing the same thing, but with late models, which could be should we do six again? There's way more cars. Should we do a few more for late
I
models?
say I say we pump it up a little bit
Maybe
more.
eight?
I
we'll,
do.
we'll
Yeah.
probably change the rules during the
Or
show too.
nine. It feels like we needed in threes to mess with our stuff with our draft. But yeah, we could definitely figure it out. I'm we'll talk about it, but there is so many more it makes sense, and maybe we could cut down a teeny bit on our thoughts and analysis. Anyway, I'm doing production
There
meetings
ain't
on
much
this.
to talk about next week anyways, besides really the dome.
No.
So we got time to
Yeah,
kill next week.
for sure, for sure. But other than that, I think we are moving into. I've named this segment twice, so I'm
It's
going to need you guys to
it's one for the road, not whatever you've been calling it.
racing adjacent. One for
Do
the
you wanna start, Josh, with one for the road?
yeah, I will. So the one I'll go with actually, I think I'm going to give a hat tip to Tim. We've been talking about racers at the Dome. Tim Nash's rap, the National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation rap, um, kind of has me cracking up. I've seen it on the web quite a bit, and the merch for it looks pretty awesome too. So I don't know. I, maybe it's for guys old like me who grew up watching that movie a whole mess. I don't know, but it definitely hits that sort of nostalgia spot. So I'd like to kind of give a shout out to what I think is pretty cool rap. And um, uh, shocker, Josh has a story. He was actually sat behind us when we were at the Dome in 2022. His family was right behind us. So um, we talked to him. We went and hung out, or I should say hung out, had a few brief conversations with him at the merch stand and stuff like that. So another cool guy. I think that's a running theme. If you go and talk to these dudes, they're all cool and they'll actually talk to you. It's just really scary to do it. But anyway, uh, so shout out to his rap. I think it's a pretty neat rap and I like it. So let's go with Julian. Julian, do you have
I,
a topic?
I do. I have one quick thing. I believe Snowflake 100 car for Ryan Phipps, who is at practice on Saturday at Five Flags. I think he's also doing a National Lampoon's car. I tried to zoom in and see it. It's a little hard to see, but I believe he also has the same thing. But my thing is also going to be asphalt. Shocker. They had a
Two
100 lap
S's.
modified asphalt modified race down at Auburndale on Saturday, won by Cody Stickler, who is easily one of the best guys in the country in like asphalt modifieds that aren't the tour style Northeast
Is that
modifieds.
Kyle's brother?
Stickler, Josh. Stickler,
Oh,
no R. But yeah, and Stickler will be at the Modifieds of Mayhem 75 lap race on Friday at the Snowball Derby next week, and I would say probably be one of the bets to win that race.
the serious question. So that's super modifieds, or is
No,
it just?
they're kind
Oh,
of like a UMP IMCA. They're it's hard to describe. They're almost kind of like
okay.
outlaw bodies without fenders on them. They're kind of cool, actually. You know, I really like the Northeast style, but these ones are actually kind of cool and they're quite quick. So
Right on.
up to Carter.
For my last one, he is someone that was at the Dome or is going to be at the Dome and was at Central Arizona this past weekend. I wasn't planning to do this as my thing, but then just looking on stats on my race pass, I found it interesting. Cole Sharneski has made 158 feature starts, not like total events because he runs mod and stock car pretty much every time he races, but 158 feature starts. And I was looking on my race pass and I couldn't find a single other driver that had more feature starts than him. There may be someone out there, but the only one I found closest was Shane Sabraski, and he runs three classes. Yeah, there you go. That was the only one I could find. I could find even close to. I think he had 143, if I remember right. He stopped racing in October. So,
He would
but
have had like 160 easy if he didn't have that heart attack and ripped his shoulder in half. So
Genuinely only missed like a week.
yeah, I don't think he missed much race.
I mean, other people may have missed, but I think it was like all told a week and a half, maybe. So,
But yeah,
um,
he's been racing since he started the year in Arizona in early January, went to Florida, Charneski this is, and then came up to Wisconsin, been to Iowa. He's been all over the place, and he's still got at least one more weekend left on his schedule, and that is next weekend at the Dome. So, and I don't know if he'll stay in Arizona one more week, but if he does, then that'll be six or four more races he can add to his starts, I guess. But I just thought 158 was crazy. I mean,
anybody gets him a sprint car,
yeah.
he could run high limit in Australia end of the year.
What would say that number one more time? 160
one
what?
158.
158. Jeez.
Yeah. I know there's been a few occasions where he's run three classes in a night, but it's usually just two. It's usually just mod and stock car. I know he's ran mod, sport mod, and stock car in a night, and he might have ran a late model the same night as a mod and stock car, but I'm not sure on that.
Yeah, and then he ran a sport mod out in Las Vegas last weekend too. So I think he was even clicking
Not
off
not a
3
sport
classes
mod.
there.
No sport
He
mod in
didn't?
Vegas. Mm-mm.
I thought he was one of the days. No? All right.
No,
Well,
he ran a sport mod at 141's fall special. In
okay.
but I think that's the only time this year he ran that. But yeah, I
Okay.
just thought that was
Then
a
I just
crazy,
misread.
crazy number.
Yeah. That's wild. And the best part is he follows this page, so there's a chance he will see this. But anyway, with that, I think it probably wraps up our 3rd episode of the Dirt Info Podcast. We absolutely appreciate you all jumping in and hanging out with us again and dealing with us kind of doing production meetings on air while we figured out what was going on today. But we definitely had a ton of fun. I think the draft idea was super cool, and I'll polish that up for next week, and we should have something to work with there. But either way, again, we appreciate the time. Like, follow, share, all that fun stuff. Hate begging for it, but it's absolutely necessary. So if you could please do that, we would really appreciate it. And with that, we will catch you again next Wednesday. For that, we are out of here. Thank y'all.